the hype around this IPO is extraordinary. It's done everything slightly differently. Like, we know the price that they're aiming for, even though there's so-called technical pricing tomorrow. It's going to be $135, we understand. Of course, it's going to be raising up to $1.8 trillion of market valuation and $75 billion of new equity. But this is going to be 30% allocated to the retail community. They're still going to be able to get allocations.
Can get a piece of this
tomorrow.
Right?
What's interesting is, of course, depending who you get allocation through, is how quickly you're allowed to flip it. Now, a lot of these retail offerings, if you go and buy it through Fidelity, they're going to punish you if you try and sell it on the day. So you're going to be like contained for 15 days. But there's a lot of volatility that's going to go into this. And many think that actually the price is going to be pushed higher by the amount of passive funds. They're going to rush in to buy SpaceX because there's been this fast tracking of entry into a lot of the main indices, like the NASDAQ, for example, of SpaceX shares. And so suddenly, if you're a passive fund and you need allocation, there's going to be this sort of fuel and frenzy behind it. But all of this is to say that demand is clear. $250 billion worth is what's been reported by Reuters, and we understand from our sources that that is similar in terms of level of demand. Some big fund managers are coming in asking for up to $10 billion worth of SpaceX shares because, of course, they've got so many funds they've got to distribute it within. And then you're looking at which particular areas, and geographically, the Middle Eastern investors who have been very long the AI trade, very much piling into XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic. Well, we know the Kuwaiti investment fund has been asking for about $5 billion worth. We know that there's been big demand coming from the other players as well. So clearly, the hype cycle's there. I mean, we've just got 2 more days to white knuckle this.
Yeah, like Prince Alawid bin Talal, he was one of the early backers of Elon Musk. He's going to get a big payday, it looks like, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting as to whether people hold on to their allocation, whether it's paper money, whether they want to sell more broadly in the future. And look, this is why there was that great reporting yesterday, wasn't there, showing the truest data that if you look back at the 30 biggest tech IPOs in the last 15 years, generally, a majority of them will sink in their first 12 months of trade. That's because lockups expire. CEOs and people want to be able to make some profits. Liquidity wanted from some of the people that work at these companies. So there is some sort of pressure. But more broadly, this looks as though a lot of people are going to be not only holding it in their private funds, but maybe wanting to even buy it in their public funds too. Maybe want even more skin in the game.
All right, I'm going to put on my analyst hat here. Valuation. Bloomberg Television had a great graphic they ran yesterday, just looking at IPOs, big tech IPOs, multiples of revenue, and 15 here, 20 times there. Crazy stuff we never talked about back in the day. This one, SpaceX, 95 times revenue.
It's kind of like Tesla, right?
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Is there any pushback we've heard from the marketplace from some of these meetings on valuation? I haven't really seen any.
I think it's all about whether you believe in, the cult of Elon Musk, whether you believe in the idea of getting orbital data centers. They've started to at least show demonstrations, pictures, if you like, of how that might work. So that's been a key focus. But really, in the same way that Tesla does not trade on fundamentals of electric vehicles, nor does SpaceX. It's bigger than the sum of its parts when you're putting all the business together, because it is the idea of Mars. It is the idea of the moon. It is the idea, though, that this currently is almost a monopoly. Look, who else has been making these reusable rockets, the cadence and the reliability that we've seen with the Falcon 9, now with Starship managing to demonstrate such feats of science? I think for many it's just like, well, I've been burnt if I've bet against him in the past.
But there has been some pushback, particularly New York and California pension funds. And the concern there by the controllers seems to be Elon has too much control.
Governance. And in fact, funnily enough, shock horror, who's weighed into this as well, is Elizabeth Warren, is sending a last-minute ditch attempt to the SEC, Paul Atkins, saying, look, you've got to stop this IPO process because I'm worried about governance and I'm worried about the safety of retail investors, as you are seeing the fast tracking of shares going into some of these big indices. Look, whether you like it or not, you're probably going to have exposure to SpaceX because it's going to be in your 401k. It's going to be in some of these, as you say, the funds that are managed by New York City, by New York State. They're pension funds, right? And they're saying, look, we're not so averse to this that we're going to rule out them in our funds. But we are going to keep trying to chew Elon's ear, trying to get letters to him, which he thus far hasn't responded to, saying, we're worried about this. We're worried about your 80% voting rights. We're worried about the overall governance structure of the business. But look, like, for many investors, they want a founder mindset. They want the ability of Elon Musk to be able to drive forward with the big decisions. And for many long-term bettors on him in the private markets, they kind of love that. In fact, that's why they think eventually SpaceX and Tesla should merge.